Double game week 33 has arrived. We are looking at the best free hit team you can make for this game week, along with the fixture runs for all the teams and players to buy. Make sure you like and subscribe, and let's get right into the video. Before anything else though, I want to talk about Nico O'Reilly really quick. Guys, he went off with an injury in the 64th minute playing away to Chelsea. Is the injury bad? Is he going to be back for double game week 33? The truth is, we don't know at the moment, but we will get more news. Basically, all we know is, right, he injured himself. He carried on playing for a few more minutes, so it's not like the end of the world type of injury. But then he signaled to the bench that he needed to come off after testing out his hamstring a little bit. So it could be crap, like it could be, but it could also be an injury that keeps him out for the next two games, meaning he doesn't play at all in double game week 33. So I'm not really bringing you much info right now, but what I can say is there is a chance, right? Even if he's going to miss the Arsenal game, but he's back for the Burnley game, that could be worth holding him for. I mean, it's a risk because you never know when he's going to be back, but that Burnley game is the main reason you want O'Reilly. The Arsenal game was probably going to be a two-pointer if we're being realistic, with a small chance of some returns. We're going to have a press conference near the deadline as well, like we normally do, and hopefully Pep can stop being so cryptic and actually tell us something for once. But yeah, in all honesty, I don't know, but there is some hope. So if you're looking to bring in a defender, like maybe you're looking to bring in O'Reilly or you're looking to sell a defender, just wait, because the information we get could change absolutely everything. Don't be scared by the price changes. You really need to sit and wait this one out up until the press conferences the day before the deadline. Now with the fixtures, obviously the teams with the double in game week 33 have the best fixture runs because the earlier game weeks carry more influence, and having two fixtures is a pretty big deal, except for Burnley. And it's not just because Burnley are bad, like the worst team in the league, even though that does mean something. Their fixture run is so awful. I just simply cannot recommend Burnley that high. I wouldn't recommend any Burnley players anyway, but yeah. Worst team with a double game week and the worst fixture run for any team with a double game week, so we can sort of steer clear of those guys. The best teams by far with good double game weeks, well, with a double game week and a good fixture run, is Leeds, with, by the way, one of the best fixture runs I've seen all season for the end of season running, and Brighton, who's is just pretty good. You've got a couple green ones in there, some grey ones, but no real tough ones, which is pretty good. I know last game week I recommended Calvert-Lewin over Welbeck, and a lot of people disagreed, but after that Welbeck blank, I'm pretty sure no one's going to be disagreeing, because Calvert-Lewin is going to be high in demand. In the next 3 games he plays, in the next 2 game weeks he plays home to Wolves, then home to Burnley, and the 3 game weeks after that Burnley game are also very easy. So Dominic Calvert-Lewin stocks are going to be going up. I can sense it. To be fair, all the other teams with doubles, you know, Chelsea, Man City and Bournemouth, none of them have loads of tough games. They just have, you know, some mediocre games and some easy games and like one red fixture. For City it's Arsenal, for Bournemouth it's Man City, for Chelsea it's Liverpool. You know, you can hold these guys throughout the rest of the season, to be honest. I know a lot of people on Game Week 32 wildcard have probably planned out most of the rest of their season anyway, and a lot of you guys will have a lot of players from all of these teams. And to be fair, I think they're pretty good fixture runs to help you see out the rest of the season. I thought wildcard 32 would actually be worse come Game Week 36, 37, 38, and I still don't think it's optimal, but you can actually still have a half decent team. Whereas, you know, a smart man like me, a patient man, who's going to get a massive red arrow in double Game Week 33, but is using his wild card in either Game Week 34 or Game Week 35, I may end the season better than you, and that's okay. Not everybody can be as good as FPLbodders. As for single game week teams, you know, teams that don't have a double in Game Week 33, Wolves have the best fixture run. If you buy Wolves asset, you're not smart, please delete the app. Aston Villa, their assets aren't appealing, but an Aston Villa defender is never a bad option, and same with Rodgers and Watkins. Like, sometimes they're very underwhelming, but if you catch them at the right time, I mean, you really do catch them at the right time. They get you loads of points. And historically, over the last few years, they are amazing FPL assets on their day. So it's very hard to ignore them with a fixture run this good. Every team below Burnley sort of had its drawbacks. Like Spurs have a really good fixture run, a couple tough games in there, but they are Spurs. They actually look like they're going to get relegated now, which is hilarious to me. I know a lot of Spurs fans, so I'm going to love making fun of them if they do get relegated. But when they're out of the Premier League, who else are we going to have to make fun of? You know, Coventry? That's boring. I don't know any Coventry fans. Arsenal are one of those teams that when you look at the last 4 game weeks of the season, have one of the best fixture runs in the league, but their fixture difficulty rating rank, you know, their tier, has been brought down massively because their entry point is away to Man City, literally the toughest possible entry point in FPL for Arsenal. In general, I think the toughest game in FPL is away to Arsenal, but Arsenal can't play away to themselves, and Man City are on the form of their lives right now. So that is obviously going to be a terrible game week for them. But after that, the Arsenal players are good to own. So make sure you have a plan to bring some of them in. You know, I'm talking Gabriel, Timber if he's back, maybe not Gyökeres or Saka, probably just the defenders, and maybe Declan Rice. And Forest are weird. They're the complete opposite. Like, Forest players right now are still decent to buy. The entry point is perfect. Like, it's either now or never. And Forest, they're mainly like defensively good. I mean, Gibbs White could be an alright attacker. But you look at away to Sunderland, home to Newcastle, home to Bournemouth. These games, in between the away games to Chelsea and Man United, are actually pretty good. They're games you could start a Forest defender or Gibbs White for. So Forest, you know, aren't even the end of the world when it comes to bringing their players in. If you bring them in home to Burnley, owning them for the rest of the season could actually be worth it, because the points they get home to Burnley could be very high. And you get to Newcastle, like, you could argue Anthony Gordon is that guy. You know, he's still good to own. I think he is. Once you get past that away to Arsenal fixture, he's actually amazing. Another one of those fixture runs where it's actually not that bad on the whole. You just have one really bad fixture. But once you get below Newcastle, guys, it's kind of trash. You know, obviously you got Bruno down there. The Man United fixture run is not good. But then again, Chelsea are on bad form. So is that red fixture really a red fixture? And Bruno Fernandes is obviously like the best player in the league, so you never want to go without him. Everyone else down there, kind of irrelevant. Thiago, to be fair, has good games in him. You have to sacrifice a, you know, probable blank away to United and away to City, but you get home to Fulham, home to West Ham, home to Crystal Palace. They're games you want to own Thiago for. So that Liverpool players, you know, probably ditch them now. They're not good. Let's be honest. They're all terrible. Liverpool are on bad form and their fixture run isn't good. They're just not worth looking to at all, in my humble opinion. And that's pretty much all the relevant stuff in the fixtures this week. Okay, I've got a new thing in players to buy. It's called the blacklisted players. These are players that just have ownership way too high. There's no point recommending them. That it's just so obvious that you should own them by now. So you'll see that pop up in the top left. It's going to rotate with the most transferred in defenders, midfielders and forwards every minute or so. So if you're interested in that, keep an eye out in the top left. As for the defenders to buy that I'm recommending, O'Reilly was on this list, but he's taken his place. We're going to start from the bottom. Now, Nico Williams, I promise you all, I had him on this list before he scored that goal, okay? I put him in it. I was debating between Murillo and Williams, and I thought, you know what? Williams' goal threat and assist potential is better than Murillo's DevCon potential, in my opinion, especially with a, you know, fixture like home to Burnley. So I thought, yeah, I'll put Williams here, and I saw him score, and I got annoyed. But, you know, to an extent, it's kind of reassuring because it means I was right about him. But everybody's going to think I'm a bandwagon and just jumping on him because he scored. But I promise I'm not, guys. I saw the future. I anticipated this before it happened. He's still only a 6 out of 10. Okay, let's keep it real with ourselves. I think in each graph, there's 2 players who don't double in game week 33 and 3 players who do double in game week 33. In general, the players who do double in game week 33 are better to buy. They just have better assets. Hence why Nico Williams has somehow snuck himself onto this list. But like I said, he's still not that bad. Decent goal threat, decent assist potential, and if Forest actually have anything going for them, it's their defence. Like, their defence isn't sensational, but for a 17th place team, 16th place team, it's all right. After that, we have our other single game week player. We have Matty Cash, and like I said earlier, Aston Villa players are those players. Like, if you catch them on a good fixture run, they're good to own. Matty Cash isn't going to get you DEFCONs. He's someone who's going to probably get you 6 points when he returns and 2 points when he blanks. I do see many clean sheet potential games here for Aston Villa though. Home to Sunderland, home to Tottenham, and away to Burnley. 3 really good games, which is perfect to own Aston Villa defender for, which is why he's here. In a vacuum, he's not great, but with the good fixtures, he is good. Then we get on to the top 3. These are all the double game week players. We have Senesi. Now, Senesi and Bournemouth, right? Their defense is genuinely woeful. Like, 1.75 expected goals per appearance for Bournemouth is one of the worst in the league across the last 8 game weeks. But 0.75 actual goals conceded in the last 8 game weeks is genuinely the best in the league. Well, that's an exaggeration. It's top 3, but it's unreal. They're bottom 3 for expected goals conceded and top 3 for goals conceded. They've been very lucky, like over the last few weeks. I mean, I say over the last few weeks, there's been like 1 game in the last few weeks. But over the last like 4 or 5 game weeks, you've seen Bournemouth keep clean sheets. And, you know, Hill and Senesi have been doing really well, and fair enough. You know, you've done well to bring them in. In actuality, you really didn't deserve a lot of those clean sheets. And I know everything I'm saying about this player I think you should buy is negative, but in general, he does have good things going for him. Like, the fixtures are good from now until the end of the season. He has a double and he is so good for DEFCONs. He's probably going to hit DEFCONs in both fixtures. The best DEFCON player all season, along with Anderson. And even though that defensive data is quite bad, you know, he's had some tough games when the data's been bad. So it will pick up a little bit, it will get better. But then again, you're mainly still bringing in Senesi for a chance of a clean sheet, but mainly the minutes and the defcons. And not to mention, he can be a threat in the box. Straug is slightly above Senesi, even though his defcon potential isn't as good and in the box he isn't as threatening. He has a much better fixture run and the defensive data is better, although Leeds are also victims of massively overperforming their underlying data with the goals conceded. 1.43 expected goals conceded, but only 0.86 goals conceded per appearance. That is a massive overperformance, just like Senesi, except not as extreme. Either way, Leeds one of those teams again, like they won't always keep you clean sheets, but home to Wolves, home to Burnley, even away to Tottenham, you could see some clean sheets in there for Straug. And I don't think he's goalless, like I think he scored this season, so it is possible. I just don't think it will happen, and he will get you defcons, you know, every other game, every 3 games, which is pretty good, especially with this good fixture run. You can see plenty clean sheets and defcons for Straug. Then we have Gahey. Now, it was going to be O'Reilly. O'Reilly will be a lot better than Gahey if he is back, but I doubt it. Gahey did score last game week as well, and Gahey's actually scored a fair few goals this season, which is quite surprising. At the beginning of the season, I didn't think he was a guy for scoring goals, but he has proved me wrong this season. Now, Gahey is great for defcons. Man City look amazing. Ever since they got knocked out of the Champions League, it's like they've been the best team in the world. The Man City fixture run isn't, you know, punch the air good, but there is some good games in here. And when it's an average game, Man City has the potential to just dominate and keep a clean sheet. So Gahey is still the #1 priority defender to target, despite him not having loads going for him like O'Reilly. Playing for Man City, playing for such a good defence, with decent goal threat and decent defcon potential, he's still easily the player to target when you're buying a defender, unless O'Reilly comes back. Looking at the midfielders now, this was tough. Like, I'm not recommending more than one player from each team. What I'm going to talk about now is Gross. Like, the Brighton midfielder, picking the Brighton midfielder was tough, okay? Pascal Gross, very reliable for minutes. You know, he could get you an assist. He's never going to get you a goal, and he is pretty good for defcons. But there's also another really good option in Hinshelwood. If that's not how you say his name, I do apologise. I haven't looked it up. But he's playing as the number 10 for Brighton. His underlying data is so good compared to the Pascal Gross underlying data. But the issue is with Brighton attackers, there's so much rotation, and Hinshelwood isn't really scoring his big chances or converting his expected goals, which leads me to believe in the short term or the long term, he is going to get dropped. And Pascal Gross, I don't think that's going to happen to him, which is why I've put him here ahead of Hinshelwood. But if you are looking at the data and you've been thinking about getting Hinshelwood, it's by no means a bad idea. I just think with, you know, such a busy schedule already and already having some rotation risks in most teams, you don't really need to add to that with Hinshelwood. So I think Pascal Gross is better. But like I said, either or is kind of a high risk, high reward situation. That is the first time I've ever started in the middle of the list, but I feel like it was an elephant in the room that had to be addressed. Let's go back to the bottom with Morgan Rogers. Like I said, when you catch him at the right time, you do catch him at the right time. I do want to give everyone a big I told you so though. Halfway through the season, Morgan Rogers was on 7 goals, and I said to everyone, listen, it's not going to happen anymore. He's been quite lucky. He's been scoring screamers. He cannot keep it up. People disagreed with me. You know, that was months ago, many moons ago. Since then, he has only scored 1 goal. So to anyone who disagreed, you do owe me an apology, but it's fine. I can wait. The Aston Villa fixture run is good, and I think if you're looking for a midfielder and you can't buy a double game week player because you're worried about blank game week 34, Morgan Rogers is a great option to consider. Even the data, while it's not great, it's also not awful. Then we get into the differential 3 is what I call them. Obviously, we've already talked about Gross. Tavernier is another one of those players who's not converting the XG at the moment. Like, the data is very good, and Tavernier is normally a guy that will score the expected goals, but ever since we found out Creepy Jr. takes penalties over Tavernier, he's kind of lost his appeal a little bit. One thing that also surprises me about Tavernier is the defcons being quite good. You know, 9.25 doesn't cross the threshold of actually being a green stat. Like Pascal Gross, 9.75 is green, very close, but for me, you have to get 9.5 per 90 as a midfielder if you want to be in the green range. So sorry, Tavernier, you just missed out. Maybe if you converted your expected goals, I'll be a little nicer to you. But yeah, in general, Bournemouth, they're a pretty good offensive team, not amazing defensively. So Tavernier could step up and actually be that guy for his team. But with right now, you know, his form's not looking good, but we'll see. Maybe he can turn it around. Skip past Pascal Gross, and for Leeds, we have the only midfielder that's actually going to get some minutes. Like, Anton Stark was going to be so good. I would have rated him a 9 out of 10, but he's injured now. It's so frustrating. Then you have Okafor. Like, Okafor, I'm recording this before Leeds play on Monday. which is really annoying as well. If Okafor is back and not injured, Okafor could be better than Aaronson, but even then, he's actually not that great. And apart from like Okafor and Aaronson, look into the Leeds attacking midfielders. All you have is like Ampadu, and he's not even an attacking midfielder. He's literally going to sit there and get defcons. You know, playing away to Man City or playing home to Wolves, it doesn't matter to him. He's just going to get minutes and defcons. Whereas you look at Aaronson and Okafor, those are the guys you can target on good fixture runs, which is why I put Aaronson here. Despite him in general in a vacuum not being great, I think he can really take advantage of these good fixtures, but also just keep an eye out for Okafor. He could also be quite good. In the number 1 spot, we have Anthony Gordon, probably one of the few players who's actually been capable in recent times on this list. The underlying data is great. He's on penalties. Aside from that game away to Arsenal, the fixtures are good. His ownership is also looking to get quite high, but a lot of people did wildcard him out in wildcard 32, which makes him a differential for people who want single game week players. So yeah, Anthony Gordon, still one of the best midfielders to own if you're, scared of blank game week 34 and you need some players who are going to play in both game week 33 and game week 34. Onto the forwards now. This was also tricky. Thiago, off the back of a brace, has found himself at the bottom of this list. You could put Watkins at the bottom. I probably should have put Watkins at the bottom, but the fixtures mean a lot to me. Thiago is going for the golden boot. He's only 1 goal behind Haaland now. And with his momentum, I think he can steal that golden boot. He has been sensational since he joined Brentford, and he's been helping out a lot of us in FPL. He's been hurting some of us as well. I remember when he scored 5 goals in 2 games, I didn't own him. It wasn't nice. I didn't appreciate it, but that's what you get for going without one of the best strikers in the league. Thiago, even though he plays some tough games, I think it's okay to start him in those games because he's not fixture proof. Let's be honest, he's not. But with how good he's going to be in those easy games, it's worth just accepting a couple blanks now and then. Well, not just accepting a couple blanks, but accepting he probably won't get a return in those red games. The underlying data for him is good. He's almost never going to get you an assist, but it doesn't really matter. I think he's got, 21 goals and 1 assist, which is quite funny. Normally strikers who have that many goals do get some assists because they're in so many different end product situations. But Thiago is all about the goal. Then we have Watkins. I know Watkins' rotation was a bit of a scare, a few months ago. And when I was putting him on this graph, I thought, wait, should I be scared of Tammy Abraham? Am I going to recommend a player who's just going to get benched? But even with Aston Villa's busy schedule, he started nearly every single Premier League game in the last few months. So I'm not really scared of rotation for Ollie Watkins. And like I said with Aston Villa, again, that fixture run is good. And if you catch Watkins at the right time, you are going to get some big points. Now, these double game week forwards are all so good to own. These forwards are the ones you want to target. The issue is you can't have all 3 of them because you need Haaland. Even though Haaland's stinky recently, I don't think you should sell him for any of these guys. If you were going to sacrifice one, if it were me, I'd own Pedro, Calvert-Lewin and Haaland and just leave out Welbeck. But it's a close call. The reason Welbeck is the bottom out of these 3 is because being a Brighton attacker is scary. You face unemployment any moment, You have 2 bad games and you're back to the bench, So Welbeck, when he's on form, he's great. But after a couple bad games, he's gone. And he's not playing much. And he's been good, but the ship may have sailed. I doubt it. I still put him at a 9 out of 10. I don't think the ship has sailed. The data is good and the fixtures are good. But there's just an element of risk in going with Welbeck, which I don't think you should want any part of. Like I said, it's a busy fixture run already. Players are going to be getting injured. Exhibit A is O'Reilly. Players are going to be getting rotated, especially Brighton attackers. So I think it's better to go with the safer options in Pedro and Calvert-Lewin. Pedro hasn't been good the last couple games, but in general, across the last 8 to 10 games, he's been, the best FPL asset. So Pedro is still very optimistic about him going forward. I don't want to be optimistic about him because he's so high owned and I may not own him in the next game week, which could absolutely kill me. But across the next 3 game weeks, home to United, home to Brighton in the double, then he blanks. But if any of you are bringing him in, you probably have a free hit. Then home to Forest is also a really good fixture for a striker. And with Liverpool's form at the moment, that red fixture isn't even that bad. So Pedro, still an elite player to get if you don't own him already. But above him, we have Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Now, the underlying data isn't as good. The recent form isn't as good. He plays for a team that isn't as good. But that fixture run, like I said earlier, it is ridiculous. And Calvert-Lewin is actually a Leeds player. Finally, someone who plays for this team that has a really good fixture run that could genuinely benefit so much. One thing we know that's going to happen, one thing I know that's going to happen is that Calvert-Lewin is going to get so many big chances and rack up a lot of expected goals. The unknown variable, the independent variable that could change is the fact he could easily miss 10 big chances back to back to back. We cannot put that past him. It's happened before. We've seen it with him. But he can sometimes have them purple patches where he scores game after game after game. As someone who's probably going to bring him in, if not in game week 33, then at least in my wildcard team in game week 34 or 35. I hope I'm right, but we will see. Only time will tell. Now on to the free hit team. Let me talk to you guys. Verbruggen is the goalkeeper I've selected, but that's because I'm already tripling up on Leeds and City. Like Darlow and Donnarumma are better, but realistically, you don't want to waste a spot from those teams on your goalkeeper, and Verbruggen is the next best bet. Like Tottenham and Chelsea are on really bad form. Verbruggen's one of those keepers where if you do keep a clean sheet, you're probably getting some bonus points and some save points, which is why I put him above everyone else. Guéhi is here for obvious reasons, I've already talked about it. Senesi in this game week is fairly easy to put on a free hit because he is genuinely one of those players that could get no goals, no assists, no clean sheets, but still come away with 8 points because, you know, 2 points for minutes in both doubles and 2 points for DEFCONs in both doubles. I wouldn't put it past him. Then we have Struijk, mainly here for that home to Wolves game, and away to Bournemouth, you know, maybe we'll see a couple points for DEFCONs or minutes just to add on to that point tally. So fairly decent back line here. Pascal Gross could once again be Hingelwood. In fact, if you were going to go for Hingelwood, it would be much better to go for him on a free hit instead of bringing him in on a permanent basis. But if it were me, I would consider the risks and go with Pascal Gross. Despite it being a boring, maybe lower ceiling option, he still has potential for points. Semenyo needs absolutely no explanation. We then have Cole Palmer, who's not been great recently, but generally speaking, he's better than other options, like Tavernier and Aronson are the next two midfielders, you know, and the benching headache between those two is tough. If it were me on free hit and I was choosing between starting Tavernier or Aronson, I really wouldn't know who to choose, to be completely honest. I think, well, it's hard because away to Newcastle is sometimes a really tough fixture and sometimes really easy. I think, gun to my head, if I had to pick one, I'd start Tavernier just because reliability for minutes and underlying data looking better. But Aronson is also a really valid option. You could even start both of these guys over Cole Palmer. Like, it wouldn't be the end of the world, but Palmer's going to be very high ownership and he is on penalties and he is reliable for minutes. So it sort of makes sense to just play it safe and start Palmer over at least one of these guys. Then in the front three, I think it's fairly obvious where my loyalty lies. Welbeck doesn't make the cut. Haaland would be in this team, obviously, and be the captain, which isn't so obvious, but I find it hard to, you know, back anyone else over Haaland. I mean, all of us, we're not really too optimistic for how well he's going to do. Like, his form's not great, but at the same time, all of us are way too scared to go without him because we know he can score a hat-trick in any fixture and we know everyone else is going to captain him. So yeah, Haaland is here and he's probably the best option to be your captain. We then have João Pedro. No explanation needed. You know, he's been on fire recently. The fixtures aren't so bad, so he's really going to hurt your rank if you don't own him. So if you're on a free hit, there's no point taking that risk to go without him. The only slot where you could put Welbeck is in this Calvert-Lewin spot, but like I said, I think with the fixtures being so good and Welbeck just being a very slight rotation risk, Calvert-Lewin is the best one to target. And to be honest, home to Wolves, great fixture, but like we've said about Bournemouth, away to Bournemouth isn't bad either. Their defensive numbers have been quite poor recently, so we could see a couple goals in that game as well. On the bench, we have Sanchez. You probably don't want to start him. Aronson, like I said, you probably could start him if you felt like it. Van Heck and Hill are two really good options. Like, you could double up on the Bournemouth defense just for extra DEFCON potential. Van Heck also really good for DEFCONs and he scored a few goals this season. So you could interchange players from the starting 11 to the bench. But this 11 right here is what I believe is the best for your free hit in Game Week 33. And I also want to hear what you guys think in the comments down below. Like, there's other alternate options. Like, even if you don't want to go Tavernier, you could go for Ryan because he's also been quite good this season. If you don't want to go Struijk, you could go for Bogle. You know, slight changes you could consider just, you know, get the extra edge. I'm not sure of the positional matchups for each teams. Like, I'm sure someone out there knows that Brighton, you know, are very vulnerable down their left flank, meaning right wingers who play against them. Mohamed Kudus could score a triple hat-trick. You know, I don't know this stuff, okay? I'm not that guy, but for me, and my opinion, this is the best free hit team you could bring into Game Week 33. Anyway, guys, that is it from me. If you made it this far, you are greatly appreciated, and I will see you all in the next video.